Did you high school have an incident? What was it? There was this really hot English teacher at my high school. So many guys flirted with her in class and on the playground. Obviously knowing that it was all a bit of fun. Until it came out that she was in a relationship with a student. A female student. Every guy was pretty crushed when that came to light. High school playground? What equipment do you have? Mirrors for selfies. Weight benches for jocks. And vending machines for the chubby kids? We had a gym teacher. Affectionately referred to as TC. He was teaching a health class. Sat on a table. And his big dig rolled out of his gym shorts. He was Thunder Big Dig from that moment on. High school drama teacher who was very well loved. Jumped off a bridge. It soon came to light that he'd been caught having sex with a young student by that student's parents. And killed himself the same night. Back at the start of the 2000s. Caffeine pills were super popular at my high school. A kid brought in dozens of them. Dozens of kids took them. Dozens of kids got sent to the dean's and nurse's office because the caffeine pills were actually Viagra that the one kid stole from his dad. Boners everywhere. Our gym teacher committed suicide by hanging himself, in the school's gym. The gym was later named after him. Maybe he really hated the gym. Maybe he wanted to prove his hatred with the ultimate sacrifice. The school covered it up by renaming the gym after him. What a cruel twist of irony. Older teacher would let the girls' volleyball team change in his closet before practice and after school. He had a camera in there, of course. It started as a rumor and ended with one of the dads showing up to class and cleaning his clock. A student brought his pen 15 out and delicately put it on the shoulder of a female student. During an exam. At least he did it delicately. Yes. 14 kids killed themselves over the span of 2 years. Can I ask what happened in those 2 years? Well, for some of them it was bullying, others in despair over their lost friends. 2 were shot by other kids under suspicious circumstances. 2 budders smashed their car head-on at 50 miles per hour into a concrete loading dock with no seat belts on. The imprint of their grille and bumper could be seen for a few years until it was demolished. The worst one for me as a kid was these 2 sophomore girls, year ahead of me. I was a freshman, who walked out of school at lunchtime one day. Got their hands on some wine. Went to one of their houses, parents at work. They wrote this elaborate, artsy looking suicide note full of lyrics from the wall. Got her father's hunting rifle. One stood behind the other. And the girl in front pulled the trigger. Both dead. They were 15. And for them it was because one of them was getting beat up by some other girls over a guy. She was very pretty and the guys liked her. So of course the other girls didn't. It's so sad they would be 41 now. And none of those jealous itches would even matter. My high school had a police raid on all the computers. 3 teachers were charged with the possession of CP. And 1 was charged with perv pics taken of unknowing female students. 2 months later my teacher was caught dropping pencils and looking up girls' skirts and smelling guys' legs. I'm still confused why havering Club Penguin on your computer is bad. Multiple kids were stabbed and 1 was killed last year one morning in my high school cafeteria. That was a bad day. Years after I graduated, a teacher had an affair with a student. He was engaged to another teacher at the time. He's in big trouble now. Another teacher once played hardcore as porn in front of the class on accident. I guess he had recorded it over an educational video. Who records porn anymore? Edit. Seems like there's a lot of this going around, haha. Yeah. So I'm from Poland and my school had some kind of renovation. There was plenty of workers digging and doing their usual stuff at the courtyard. One day a janitor ran up to my class and told us to get the hell out of there. As it turned out later on, workers found a hand grenade, probably from WWII. Sappers and military were called and they managed to defuse it. But it was funny experience. After reading some other posts, nothing happened. Someone once took a sheet in someone's school bag and that was the big story for years. We had something similar. Someone was breaking into football lockers and cheating into guys' helmets. He, or someone with a great sense of humor, posted graffiti around the school saying the mad crapper will strike again. I will never forget my old Italian head coach sitting all of us down to discuss it before practice. He was so incredibly confused by the situation. I remember the look on his face. Like the world stopped making sense. He told us that whoever did it needed to come tell him so he could get them the psychological help they needed. He totally meant it. The mad crapper was never caught. My PE teacher was caught having sex with the buxom young blonde math teacher during school hours. I think it was in the weight room. He was reprimanded and she was transferred. This was the first incident. A few years later, after I had graduated, me and my group of friends ran into him at a bar. Les ran into him than he and a group of his friends jumping and assaulting a friend of mine. Apparently there had been a disagreement over one topic or another. So the gym teacher's logical solution was to ambush my one friend in the parking lot, stomping his head between the parking lot pavement and a car tire. They fled the scene right before cops showed up. They caught him though. He lost his job, lost his wife. There was a total dumbus in my woodwork class. One day, a few of us were out in the shed, lacquering whatever item we'd made. This one genius thought it would be hilarious to light the highly flammable jar of lacquer. So up it goes and he realizes immediately that he's made a huge mistake. So starts trying to blow it out. To no avail. So what does he do? Lashes it off the ground to put it out. Glass shatters and the floor lights up as the lacquer spreads. There was a load of gas canisters in there. Alarm went and we all legged it. In flies the teacher. Superhero-like. Wielding a fire extinguisher. Kid got expelled but got back in on appeal. A girl at my school gave 9 different guys BJS at one party. The class clown asshole carved a 9 on her locker. The whole thing blew up and the administration ended up finding out. And they had a all teacher meeting to discuss it. Hella awkward for that girl. Edit. To clarify, they had a meeting because she was being bullied. She was not present for the teacher meeting. The class clown was suspended. And for those of you asking where this happened, it was in New England. Second edit. No. It didn't happen at Milton Academy. There was a gum found in our lost and found and apparently no one knows how it got there. In my sophomore year, a few friends and I were almost arrested. We had recently taken an interest in modding games and were going to mod CS. Our school was symmetrical, 4 floors, and decently sized. So we thought it would be fun to make a map of it. I had drawings of each floor in my bag, with GOM locations marked on it. Of course. One day it slipped out of my bag and a teacher found it and called the police. Only reason I didn't get arrested is because I also happened to have spawn points marked. And the cop was a gamer. TLDR, almost arrested because Counter-Strike. We had a teacher allegedly have sex with one of the 17-year-old set of twins, who were pretty hot, at the school. We also had a teacher marry one of his former students who then became a teacher at the same school. The latter teacher was also rumored to have had sex with multiple students who were of age before he married the one. Though nothing ever came of it. TLDR teachers got more as with the students than I did. One of our vice principals burned down his own house on purpose. They even had a donation drive for him. In my high school, there was a tradition of a 10-day school trip for the graduating class, 5th year. Students aged 18-19. My class went to Greece. During the trip, a young math teacher made out with a student while we were clubbing in Athens. The student won a bet with his friends and several other teachers witnessed the hookup. We went clubbing with the teachers. My country is very relaxed. Of course, thanks to cell phones. All the students back home knew immediately about the incident, and on her first day back, the teacher was greeted with cheers and applause by the whole school. She was later transferred. I attended a rural high school, so there was nothing but incidents. This includes half the girls in my senior class getting pregnant. The school's reaction was to set up trailers out back of the school. segregate the pregnant chicks, and intersperse academics with baby care classes. My history teacher ran off with one of her students. My English teacher was a total lech and had affairs with multiple students. In my senior year, several juniors died in a car wreck. I had a Latin teacher that was mentally ill. He used to throw things at students, including desks. And then there was the usual stuff, like our football team, state champions, being able to do whatever the hell they wanted. It's a miracle I escaped with minor trauma. Two of our high school teachers were having an affair. No indication as to how long. Except one of the teachers had been rumored to stray from their marriage. Anyways, the story goes that they had both made a pact to leave their so's and meet up at the Friday night football game. Well, one attended the game alone, without so, whilst the other came hand in hand with their so. At the same time this was happening, the so who was not at the game was at home shooting themselves in the head. This high school had around 400-450 students and was in a town of about 3,000 people. Full stop. Seniors on the basketball team snuck their fingers up the freshmen's assholes as hazing. Got caught and arrested, and our school got mega shamed by everyone else in the tri-state area. Aside from our newsworthy drug problem, students going on to become porn stars, and multiple student-teacher relationships. We once had a teacher who would strip down to her underwear and sunbathe at lunch. Edit, she was fired shortly after. Our high school had a carnival day that went on once a year. Heard from one of the teachers that one year someone cocked up royally and rather than order an adult-sized jumping castle ordered an adult jumping castle, which is a jumping castle covered with inflated big digs and tits and what have you. A girl was stabbed 18 times by her crazy ex-boyfriend right in front of a full classroom. When I was a freshman, some seniors decided to be idiots and avoid finals by putting bombs in a locker. Whole school was on lockdown and finals went on as planned. And they never got jail time or even probation. One of my friends had an asthma attack during sport and died. Group of teenagers, about 15 YO, got caught having sex on camp. At a friend's school, one of the science teachers did the sodium in a bin of water trick but used potassium instead and proceeded to blow a hole in the ground. The school up the road from us, Feral Public School, had kids getting stabbed with pens and someone set themselves on fire. Idiot was playing with a petrol can and lit it on fire whilst holding it. My year group became infamous as the year 9 class with that girl that gave one of the boys a BJ at the top of the art block. Recorded it, and got it sent round the entire school for about 5 or 6 years even after she left. Funnily enough, the school went pretty far downhill after that. Some girls tortured another girl, pimped her out and bought candy and cigarettes for the money. In middle school, a kid brought one of his father's gums to school on a bet. I know he didn't intend to use it, but he did have a loaded mag. He was expelled and later rejoined in high school. I ran track with him and developed a friendship with him. Unfortunately, that incident always haunted him and he was always the kid that brought a gum to school. Last time I saw him during college, he was very deep into drugs and I always wondered how different his life would have been if he didn't make a stupid mistake when he was a kid. I think about it from time to time and hope he got his shit together and didn't end up in prison or worse. Edit, after I posted this I was thinking about it all day, so I stalked him on Facebook and he's a firefighter now. Made my day. About 2 years after I graduated, it came out that the principal was having an affair with the office secretary who was also sleeping with the vice principal at the same time. The vice principal apparently had a nervous breakdown over it. When I was in high school, a 10th grade girl was suspended for 2 weeks for giving BJS to 5 football players in the locker room. When she came back to school, her brother, who was a gang member, beat the shit out of her in her lunchroom and she was in ICU for several weeks. He claimed to do it out of respect. High school chem teacher didn't inspect a flask before he filled it with hydrogen and ignited it to demonstrate the loud pop that hydrogen makes when ignited. Flask exploded and several kids went to the hospital with pieces of glass stuck in their skin. One girl narrowly avoided having a chunk of glass in her carotid artery. Our secondary school put up spiked fences to stop kids from leaving the premises. And one girl decided she knew best. Climbed the fence. Slipped and opened her hand to the bone whilst people stood there and watched. Needless to say, I think the generation who attended and saw that thought twice about climbing that gate again. So after lunch in my last year, me and a bunch of students are walking along the lower floor to go to class. An older math teacher, 50-ish, is walking in front and all of a sudden he falls head first onto the ground. At first we all thought he had just tripped up and fallen, but when he lay there completely still we knew something was up. One of my friends ran to get help and a few teachers came to see how he is. Turns out he had a brain aneurysm and died on the spot. Poor bastard didn't have a clue and there was a huge group of students around. We all got offered counseling from the school. I still remember the absolute confusion which struck everyone. Mostly young kids with no experience of death got a shock realization of their own morality. I'll post a link to the news article later.